Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for joining me today. My name is Natalie Armstrong-Motin, and I am talking to my friend, colleague, author, mediator, and therapist, Esther. Hi, Esther.
Hi, Natalie.
So Esther is sharing with us today Chapter 6 of the book that she just showed you, Getting Unstuck. I hope that you've been watching videos in order up to this point, because each one does lay a foundation for the next. And we're now halfway through the book at Chapter 6. Tell us all about Chapter 6, Esther.
I am a teacher at heart, and so this chapter is really important to me. And I find that so many people, well, certainly my story, really don't know. They really don't know what their highest level values are and why they're important.
What do you mean by that?
So if I ask you, what is a good person? What's the first word that comes to mind?
That I am generous with my experiences so that other people don't make my same mistakes.
So being generous is a really important characteristic of being a good person. So then it's really important then to be generous, because, so I'm saying this to you as an example to illustrate that when I do this kind of a question with somebody, most people, and I'm sorry to say most, and it was true of me as well, cannot think and articulate 3 levels higher in terms of their thinking. So they kind of know that it's important to be generous. Like, well, because of course it's important to be generous, because, you know, people will like you better. And that's, or, you know, what's a good life? Well, I want my kids to be happy. Okay, well, what's so important to being happy, and what is happiness really? So the point is, most people either haven't had an experience, a particular reason to deeply clarify and understand and think about what's really important to you. Because the people that I ask in my practice, they never start with the same word, right?
Sure.
Now, it's not just one word, and it's not, but what happens is when you kind of get as high as you can go, that it is what it is because it is, right? I can't think of another higher level idea about that. Then you take a break and you start with another word. And what happens is that you get really clear about what matters to you and why it matters. Because if you did this with your husband, I imagine that chain of thinking would not be exactly the same. It's never exactly the same for everyone or anyone. But you are you, and you're special because you're you, and so forth. So, but if you don't really know what's important to you, then it's pretty hard to be important to yourself. And it's pretty hard then to decide what's important to focus on, which is what this chapter is about. And so if you don't know where you're going, to put a cliche, you're not likely to get there. And a lot of people, it was certainly hard for me to stay focused because I didn't really know what my priorities were and why they were so important that I would actually delay gratification and be disciplined and sacrifice. Like, I had no idea because I didn't really know myself all that well. And it turns out that that was not so unusual for people.
So when we're going through the chapter and you're talking about focus,
yeah,
are there some, I don't want to use the word tricks, but are there some techniques that you can give us to help us refine or find a way or some method to focus so that it doesn't seem so overwhelming, because we're talking about big things. So, and I know in your book you were talking about getting another university degree, you're talking about getting other careers started, you're talking about, you know, redefining your family unit, all of these kinds of things. These are not small things. So how do you approach these really seemingly enormous tasks in a way that it doesn't crush us, but encourages us?
Right. That's a great question. And I think part of it is even engaging in the thought process. So if you can start with something small, even like today, what's really important for me to do today? And why? Why is it so important for me to do the wash today, or to read a chapter today, or to exercise today, or whatever? It's not my whole life, but like you'll get confused and lost and give up, right? So a shorthand way of saying it is that you have to know what you want to have happen before you figure out how to do it. There are lots of ways to do the dishes and the laundry, but if you're going to do the dishes, then that's what you're going to do. And that's important because I don't want to buy paper ones and they're all dirty, like whatever it is. But you have, one of the big mistakes that people make is to, and I have done this a lot in my life, gotten sidetracked on, now, okay, so, you know, I want to, okay, I want to offer my services to this kind of a person. Now, how am I going to do that? Well, let's see, I could do social media, I could do, and now I'm thinking about how before I even know what.
Right.
And so I've wasted a lot of time and energy and so forth, and I'm not focused on the end. So focusing on a specific end is a place to start, even if it's a little, how am I going to make it to lunch with these third graders? Because I feel terrified that if they don't behave, I'll have to send one out of the room and then I'm a failure. Like,
Right.
it's crazy. That's craziness. So little baby steps, sometimes it's not about what is my goal in life? That's not a great place to start.
Right. Start with the small bite-sized pieces first. All right. Excellent. So Esther, thank you so much for your time. Chapter 6 is super important. And for a lot of people, it might be that you get through chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and have to loop your way back to the beginning and go back through and maybe realign some things, focus a little bit more on some weak spots. But chapter 6 is halfway through the book, and we're looking forward to chapter 7 next.
Yeah, I like 7.
All right, good. We'll talk to you soon then about chapter 7. Thanks, Esther.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.